and also there was no the Sharia, there was no coded law, there was no everything has to be done from scratch. So Muslims, they start making it like we had people who studied Islam and become scholars and became thinkers, and they gave their own opinion in jurisprudence and the interpretation of the Quran. Some of these great scholars, they created some enough knowledge to be the base for schools, for entire schools. We can call them methodologies of law, or like coded things, methodology on how to extract rulings from a surah, a verse of the Quran, and how to identify which hadith is weak, which hadith is credible. So these four scholars, we're talking about Maliki, Shafi'i, Hanbali, and Abu Hanafi. So these four schools, we can, if we want, we can add the fifth school to them, which are Shia, but this is something debatable. It's not agreed upon 100%. Mainly because Shia themselves, they don't want to identify as a school, so why should we even give them that title? So, but it can be a possibility. So we have these four schools of jurisprudence. They are not different type of Islam. They agree with each other most of the time. They agree on the aqidah, on the doctrines, but there are differences in like the way we pray. Like Malikis prays, put the hands up or put your hands down, like in details. But these four schools, like in Morocco, they follow the Maliki school. In Abu Dhabi, they mainly follow the Maliki school, and in Saudi Arabia, I think they're Hanbali. So these are the differences. But they are, they are not sects. That we have sects, this is different thing. Those are schools of the methodology of extracting laws and rulings from Quran and Sunnah.
And so for those that just step back in one point, you have the Quran, which is effectively the same as the Torah. It's the written word, but it was actually not written by Muhammad. It was written by the Sahaba. He spoke it out and they wrote it down. And then you have the Hadith, which are the things that Muhammad said. They're collected. They come down different forms of narration. Some of those narrations are strong, some of those are weak. And so effectively in Islam you have, and correct me, Jassem, you're the expert, I'm not Muslim, you basically have the Quran and the Hadith, which are the foundation of Islam. Then you have the Sunnah, but we'll just focus on those two. Within Judaism, you have something similar. You have the Torah, which is the written law that was given to Moses and written down by Moses according to Jewish tradition. And then you have what's called the oral law, which exists within the Talmud. And the Talmud is a collection of things we would believe were given to Moses, but also things that were introduced by rabbis throughout the period leading up to the sealing of the Talmud. Most of Jewish practice comes from the Talmud, and so the way we pray, the things we say, a lot of this comes from the Talmud, but its foundation is the Torah. Everything goes back to the Torah. And so that's one of the commonalities between Islam and Judaism, is we have these two mechanisms where we extract law from, but how it's collected is slightly different. We don't have the chains of narration, so to speak, because a lot of it was actually introduced by men, and it doesn't come down through multiple authors. The Talmud was brought together, collected by, or the Gemara certainly was, by Ravina and Ravashi, who are probably going too deep for most people that are watching this. But needless to say, there's similarities between the Jewish and Islamic view of scripture. So maybe focusing in on that, because I think we started with UAE, the United Arab Emirates, and the style of Islam that they follow. But one of the things I'd like to bring it back to is the interfaith aspect. So I've been involved in, and I hate the term interfaith, but interfaith for many years now. Bearded men, just reading the comments, some weird comments. I've been involved in interfaith for many years, and one of the things that's bothered me, I'd say, in the last 2 years, is I used to promote the commonalities between Judaism and Islam. Say, look, we're so similar. Why are we killing each other? Why are we seen as enemies? We pray. We pray to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We We have similar dietary laws. We have similar laws of purity. We have similar ways that we pray. We have similar pilgrimages, or certainly we used to when we had a temple that stood in Jerusalem. Even the word Hajj comes from the Jewish root Hag, because Hajj is you circle the Kaaba. We would circle Beit al-Maqdis, the temple, Beit al-Mikdash in Jerusalem. And so I used to think, if I promoted the commonalities, if I showed Muslims how similar we were, then we'd be able to build a relationship based on commonality, and we'd be more tolerant of each other, because we tend to be tolerant of the familiar. But then you look at the Muslim world, and there is far more in common with the Shia and the Sunni Muslim, with the Hanafi and the Malaki, with all these different schools and sects and factions and ethnicity, but all these Muslims have far more in common than Jews and Muslims do. Yet Islamic history is one of conflict and internal conflict. When you look at the tragic loss of Muslim life around the world today, with the exception of China, the overwhelming majority of Muslim life is taken by other Muslims. And so my question, like the first question at you, is, am I being naive in thinking that promoting commonalities will breed tolerance when the Islamic history is one of internal conflict? And so does that not just throw the Jews as almost like another sect into that mix? And so it's a question to, is it a futile effort? Is it worthwhile promoting the commonalities?
So allow me to say there are two problems here. The first problem is that Islam is the only religion that recognizes the other two. We already know that our roots are from Jewish people, Jewish prophets. Maybe some Muslims, they don't call them Jewish prophets, they call them Hanafi prophet, Hanafi, Ibrahimi prophet, whatever, but they are Jew. I mean, they are Jew. And because we were brought up with this idea, we know that our roots are from Judaism. So when you are talking to Muslim about these aspects, those who are surprised by this information gives you a signal that you are already talking to people who are not taking really care about their own religion. Because if they were really deep into the knowledge of Islam, they will knew what you are talking about. They will even interact with you further. They will give you things that maybe you don't know. But alhamdulillah, you did the effort and you went into this discovery of the similarities with Islam and Judaism. And you promoted this, you took this route to show to Muslims that we are equal, but we already know that we are equal. The problem is like it's not in our religion. The problem is like about your background. You present yourself as a Zionist to people who've been brought up all over the last 70 years that Zionism want to blow up the Aqsa, they kill women, they kidnap children, and they send, what is that? I mean, lot of things. I mean, like you sent to our country's product that they are contaminated to kill people, and you promote the use of drugs and indecency. I mean, a lot of things. Whatever comes to your imagination bad about mankind, it was associated to Zionists. So when you present yourself as a Zionist who is talking about similarities between Islam and Judaism, people they will go, this is one of their tricks. You know, he's trying to sell us something. He's trying to recruit us. He's trying to so that's what I don't think it will work, because at the basis of it has to be the work you've been doing. I think, in my opinion, because not everything has to be done in public. Certain things have to be done in private. The work you've been doing could benefited more Muslims if it was in coordination with some scholar. I mean, if you manage to get in touch with the scholar who is a promoter of peace, but also he doesn't have his own agenda. He doesn't have he's not working for a state. He's not working for an organization. He's not profiting from what he's doing. Someone who is doing it for the sake of Allah, and you can cooperate with him or her, and you can promote this message through a Muslim voice. Unfortunately, it has to go through that point. It's not like I'm saying that you're not a credible person, but your background made you incredible for those people, as much as you are credible for me, because that curtain, alhamdulillah, has fallen, and I don't see you as an enemy. So you can't expect from 1.8 billion people to trust you over 10 or 20 years. There's a lot of deep work has to be done.
So I completely agree with what you're saying. I can't escape the fact I'm Yehudi.
No, it's not Yehudi is not the problem. Zionist is the problem.
It depends where you are. I think in the West, my experience when I speak to Muslims in the West is they will go to great lengths to show how Muhammad went to great lengths to protect the Jews. They see Islam as a protector of the Jews. And most Muslims in the West will make a differentiation between Jews and Zionists. I think when you move into the Arab world, that differs somewhat. And I think there the line becomes blurred. So if you listen to protests in Gaza, they're not saying Zionist, they're saying Yahud.
Yahud, yeah.
And so I think it depends where in the world you are. But I do agree that the voice has to come through a Muslim. And so for my second question to you, and this is not my idea, it's Einat Wills. I listened to her, definitely follow her on Twitter if you're not following her, EINATWILF, fantastic channel, fantastic thinker. And she was giving a talk where she said that just like Christians have evangelical Christianity, which has incorporated Zionism, or the belief that Jews should return back to Israel, and that's a positive thing from a religious perspective, to Christianity. And let's just stop. If you look at the history of Jews and Christians, it's far more bloody than the history of Jews and Muslims. So Jews and Christians had a lot of bad blood, in the sense that Christians persecuted us. Not anymore, thankfully. We're very close with most Christians today. But if Jews and Christians were able to repair that relationship to the extent that Zionism is part of many Christians' religious outlook, can that same thing happen with Muslims? There are verses in the Quran which would suggest that Jews returning back to the land of Israel is a prophecy of Muhammad. And so if that is the case, can you see a world now that states, literal states that were hostile, are forging relationships with the Jewish state? Can you see a future where you will get Muslims en masse that see Israel not as an anomaly, not as a threat, not as something that shouldn't be there, but Jews living amongst their cousins, returning to their ancestral homeland as not just a modern state, but part of their religious worldview? Could you see the equivalent of evangelical Christians, but like evangelical Muslims that support the idea of a Jewish state, a large movement of them based on the Quran and the Hadith and the Sunnah?
I don't see similarity with evangelical, because correct me if I'm wrong. I think the evangelical movement have this belief, but they expect something from this return. It's not like Jewish people, they will return to Israel and that will be the end of it. They are, maybe I'm wrong, but there are plans that they will be, one day will come and Messiah will come back, and half of the Jew they will convert to Christianity, and basically they are just like they're preparing for their conversion.
So there's definitely some Christians that believe that, but an awful lot of evangelical Christians believe that someone who blesses Israel is blessed, and someone who curses Israel is cursed. And their relationship with the Jewish state isn't one to convert them, although just like most Muslims would like to see the world adopt and embrace.
That contradicts with the doctrine of salvation in Christianity.
So I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm saying is there is a large, but when you speak to, for instance, Christians United for Israel, their support of Israel isn't dependent on the Jews converting to Christianity at some future date. They believe that you should stand by the Jewish people and you should stand by the Jewish state for religious reasons. But you're absolutely right.
But how can it be for religious reasons if I believe that if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you cannot be saved? So basically, I'm just telling you, okay, it's fine, I'm supporting you, but I'm supporting you to your end. I'm not support. See, this is even worse than what Muslims says. I mean, at least Muslims tell you in your face, no, I believe that you are hiding. You are not true and you are lying and this and stuff like that. But this person is telling you, okay, I support Israel, but deep inside they know that without believing in Jesus Christ, you will not be saved. So they don't want. You understand?
Most Muslims today believe the same about Judah. Most Muslims believe that the Jews corrupted the Torah.
Yeah, but they say
And many of the Christians who believe what you're saying also say it. That's why we know it, because they tell it.
Okay, so leave Christian to the side because they are not with us. I don't think it's fair that we.
You guys talking about Christian scripture, not the best ambassadors for it.
Yeah. So I think you just said states are getting closer to each other, and that could be a signal for people getting closer to each other. Unfortunately, the relation of the Jewish people with the Jewish state is the opposite of the relation of Muslim state people with the Muslim states. I mean, you guys, you built your states and you sacrifice and you are promoting and defending it and donating and dying and to defend it and everything. A lot of sacrifice. That state belongs to you. In our case, I'm not talking about every country because my country is different. But obviously, I don't like to sound like I'm showing off. So I will always speak about the worst. And there are exceptions. There are exceptions like Qatar for Qataris and Emirates for Emiratis and Kuwait for Kuwaitis. We have these local entities and people are really connected to their rules and happy with their life. But this is not the majority of Muslim countries. I mean, those are not even 100 million. We're talking about 150 million population. The majority of Muslim countries, they don't have that feeling. Probably they will go against they will find in their country back in Israel a reason to go against the country to take down that regime if the regime go closer. So I think we need to put aside politics and think more religion if we want really to build the future. Because what I want Muslims to support Israel, even if it was a failed state, not only because it's advanced in technology and it's a nice place to visit and the Israeli person average income is the highest in amongst similar economies, whatever. I want people to support the Jewish state for the simple reason that it is Jewish. That is a Tawheed state. That is a country of people who are like us. We disagree with Jewish people, but in fact, as you mentioned, Islamic sects, there are more disagreements amongst Muslims themselves than between Muslims as a bloc and Jewish people. So if we build, I don't want to sound like someone who is promoting integralism or religious but this is I think in my opinion what is missing in all this discourse, that we keep running away and also it is pushed by agendas because a lot of politicians, they're not believers. I mean, or if they are believers, they're not practicing, and if they are practicing, they put politics first to their faith. As a Jew and as a Muslim, we need to walk away from this and we need to build our future together, because states go and come and go. Today we have this republic. Tomorrow the republic will split in two and will become two nations. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Look where we've been. We started one caliphate, but we then become two caliphates, then become 5, 6 kingdoms. Now we have republics. So I think our relationship is beyond politics. That's my answer.
Okay, so I think it's I think it's one. Yeah, this title of this stream is "How a Zionist Views Islam," and
1 second. I think we need to fix the problem, the concept and of Jewish state from an Islamic point of view, because until today, Muslims scholars, they didn't really approach the creation of Jewish state because it's something new in the Islamic jurisprudence. It didn't happen to us before. We didn't have the Jewish people coming and declare independence somewhere. We only had Khaybar. That's the only autonomous Jewish entity in our history. That's like, obviously they were defeated and they accepted the agreement of peace, and it was harsh. A lot of sanctions, like half of their income has to go to Muslims. But in fact, the Muslim army walked away and left these people rule their own lands and live their own life. They didn't enslave them. I mean, they didn't take them to Medina. They let them live there. So it was a recognition of the independence of Jewish state, to some extent. Go. Yeah. What was your observation?
So I was just going to say, so maybe I should launch a new movement called Khyberism, and we go back for Khyber.
Khaybarism, yeah. So what I'm saying, this concept of Jewish state is new to us, and the Muslim scholars who dealt with it, they start dealing with it. I mean, Israel was declared independent. I don't like the word created, because it creates something that didn't exist. In my opinion, some sort of Israel always existed, whether in people's mind or in faith or whatever. So since Israel was made independent, at that point, we had also independence happening in several Muslim countries, like recently Egypt from the British and the Saudi Arabia, all this thing. So the scholarship at that point was focused on new challenges, like swapping from the caliphate to new states, new forms of government. So they didn't have time to deal with Jewish question. Now we must do it, and this is what's going to happen, in my opinion, in the coming days. You will see scholars from United Arab Emirates, because the question is they're not going to stop this week or the coming weeks. This will go on, and we have the attack on the Sheikh Sudais last Friday after his sermon, the Imam of Mecca. These things, they will trigger the debate, and we need to answer. What is the view of the Islamic jurisprudence on the existence of a Jewish neighboring state? I think, in my opinion, it will not be difficult to affront, because we have already other neighboring non-Muslim countries, and we have diplomatic relationship with them. And we need to confront these questions of occupation. Are Jewish people an occupation? So how come all these historical facts? We need to go through these things. Once we clarify the view of Islamic jurisprudence in the Jewish state, everything else would fall. It's like a domino, because this is the rock that is standing our way. We need to accept that Israel is not a Zionist entity; it is an independent country, and it is a Jewish neighbor, a Jewish country neighbor to us. Once you acquire that status, everything else will be easy.
I completely agree that the Muslim world needs to buy into the idea of a Jewish state, because it isn't going anywhere. But there is one huge elephant in the room that needs to be addressed, and I'd be really interested in getting your thoughts. Anybody that says that religion isn't the root of this conflict does not understand the conflict. The reason why there was such hostility from all the surrounding Arab states is because Masjid al-Aqsa, Al-Quds, for those that don't know, for the English translation, the mosque that's next to the... Sorry, I've just woken up Alexa. So the Mossad's listening in. So you've got the where the temple used to... I'm really sorry. Can you hear that or not?
I can hear something, but I don't know what she's talking about.
Okay, that's fine. About that. So Masjid al-Aqsa and the Dome on the Rock are seen as the third holiest sites in Islam. Now, Masjid al-Aqsa isn't actually mentioned in the Quran. It mentions the furthest mosque, which has come to most of the Muslim world today understands that to be Masjid al-Aqsa, the Mosque of al-Aqsa. And so my question to you is that a problem, in the sense that is that something that the Muslim world, the Ummah, can overcome, or is that too big an issue for them to it's just an impassable issue?
It is not a problem, because, okay, obviously this is like the answer of $1 million, just like me. Who are you coming here and telling this is not a problem? Everyone is killing each other about this. I disagree with you. This is not a religious problem. The conflict between Jews and Muslims is not a religious problem, because Aqsa is the... We have one hadith referring to the Aqsa, and we have the Isra wa Mi'raj. Subhanalladhi asra bi'abdihi bayna al-masjid al-haram ila al-masjid al-Aqsa. So we agree. What are you saying?
We, instead of saying Bismillah, we say a little blessing.
And do you drink it 3 times or once?
No, just the one. Just the. I mean,
okay.
Sorry.
So I don't think it's a religious problem, in my opinion. I think religion was brought in to to get people to agree to kill themselves. It's just, I give you the example of the Japanese kamikaze. The Japanese, they sent these pilots to blow themselves up, but also they have to give them a story, a reason to do it. So they told them that you will be reborn in another life, and you will have. So this is exactly what's happening. It's like Muslims, they were made to believe that Jewish people are profaning their third holiest mosques, and they want to blow it up, and they want to burn it, and they want to rebuild the temple. And this we know these things are lies. This is not, maybe I'm sure there are Jewish people who have this opinion. They could be. I never heard anyone talking about it. But this is not the general. This is not the general the ijma. This is not the agreement of the Jewish nation about to blow up the Aqsa. Not at least not until today. So if we clarify the historical and political issues about that led to this problem, I think we can also clarify the religious one, because at the end of the day, can I say you are not filthy? You are a human being. I mean, you're not. I mean, you're not descendant of certain animals. You are a human being, and you are as clean. You are clean. Probably your deed could make you cleaner than so many Muslims. I mean, this is not about who you claim to be, but this is about what are you doing of your life. So a Jewish person stepping into a mosque, it doesn't profane that mosque. It doesn't it doesn't invalidate my prayer. I mean, probably stopping a Jewish person from entering, from praying, could invalidate my prayer, because I am exercing power, tyranny, over a believer, and I don't think there is a greater sin than that one, to prevent someone from worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or worshiping Hashim, because you are worshiping Allah. This is what we believe. I mean, if we don't believe that you are worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's a problem here. There's a problem of our understanding to Islam. It's about Aqidah. So preventing Jews from praying in the Aqsa could invalidate our journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I don't see it as a religious problem. Once scholars, they will have the go ahead to sit down and debate about this, because when we debate, we know when scholars they issue fatwas. I mean, the proper procedure. They need to do it based on reliable data. They can't do it based on headlines. So they need to go through the recording of Jewish state and the Zionism and see what is your real intention, guys. What are you doing there? What do you want to do? Then at that point, that they can tell the Muslim world, look, this state is here to stay, and they are not fighting us. They are in self-defense, and they are the one who are looking for peace. We are the ones who are attacking them, and we need to clarify this, and inshallah we can move on.
So really interesting what you say. I think I'd like to ask. So a friend of mine, I don't know if he'd appreciate me giving his name, but he's a scholar and a rabbi, big grey beard, black hat, black suit, white shirt, peyot, as Orthodox Jewish looking as you can imagine. Works with the Muslim community to build peace. And he was in the UK doing a tour, and he went to one of the biggest, most traditional mosques you can imagine in his Jewish garb, and he prayed mincha, the afternoon prayers, with the Muslims. So the Muslims were praying their prayers in the mosque, in the masjid, and he was praying his prayer at the back. No one even looked around. Like, they saw him, but no one made a big deal of it. Nobody asked him to leave, and probably for the reasons you said. Most Muslims,
you know why? Because I don't know the mosque, but certainly because the person who is running the mosque, or the jama'ah who is deciding what happened and what not happened in that mosque, they have this idea that the Jewish person can pray there, and people who go to pray in that mosque, they follow the guidance of that imam. This is, I mean, it's the imam problem. It's the mufti problem. Once I follow the scholarly opinion, I don't have to investigate further. If I trust the scholar, I don't have to learn each and every detail about my religion. I have to follow the trusted scholars. So when I have a trusted scholar that will tell me, okay, this is something a Nazi propaganda created by, started by a mufti who was appointed by the British based on his father's father being in the role. That was his only qualification. Just because his father was a mufti of Jerusalem, they made him mufti. He doesn't have any qualification to be mufti. And even if he had that qualification to be a mufti, the fact was that he should demonstrate that he got it wrong. He's someone who, I mean, can anyone explain to me what the Husseini went to do in Germany? I mean, this is not a country that you are neighbor with. You didn't go there. I mean, the Muslim, you didn't go there to do service to Muslim community. You went for pure politics, and you went to visit Hitler in a moment when Hitler's best ally Mussolini was killing your brothers in Libya. I mean, and you're saluting them, you're giving them support. So that's what I'm saying. It's like this thing was created by someone who's a sympathizer of Nazi, and he was. I mean, we know his story. Then he ended up in Egypt, and he infected the Muslim Brotherhood with all these ideas, and these ideas now we have to live with this. This is the biggest ISIS-like ideology in our Islamic history. I mean, we talk about ISIS. ISIS compared to Hamas is nothing, because at least ISIS we knew their intentions, and we stood and we fought them, all of us, everyone in their way. But Hamas, they have supporters in the West. Hamas, they have people who are willing to stand up in European Parliament and defend them and send them aid and negotiate with them and sit them with them. Can you imagine someone who's sitting with al-Baghdadi to the same table from European Parliament and having a discussion? You can't imagine that. So what is the difference? What is the difference between Raqqa and Gaza? I don't see any difference. They are the same type of, they are just like a little bit more sophisticated.
Do you see Ikhwan? Do you see the Muslim Brotherhood as the same ideology as Daesh, as ISIS? Do you see them as one and the same, or do you?
I think they're worse. Look, I differentiate between the da'wah and the social work carried by the Ikhwan. No one can say that every Ikhwani is a Daeshi. We can't say that, because there are really a lot of genuine people who they were taught Islam in that way, and they were brought up in countries where serving the community, that was the only way to serve the community. I'm talking about Egypt, I'm talking about Syria, I'm talking about Jordan. So obviously in Morocco it doesn't work, because we are already having this social tradition to do these things in our own. So if anyone from Ikhwan brought this ideology, it didn't work. And in fact, the actual current Ikhwan we have, they are not the same. You can call them ex-Muslim Brotherhood. So I don't see all of them evil, but what just in the same way I talk about the Rafidi, I differentiate between Rafidi and Shia. I differentiate between the leadership and the ideology of Ikhwan, and for me, I have no doubt they are worse than Daesh. They're much worse.
And for those that aren't following, the Muslim Brotherhood basically were born in Egypt, and Hamas was basically a product of the Muslim Brotherhood. They share the same ideology to establish a global caliphate. And so here's a challenging question. I know it's meant to be me giving you my ideas on views on Islam, but another challenging question for you would be, many outsiders that look into Islam see that the aspiration of the Muslim or Daesh, ISIS, to establish a caliphate or a global caliphate is a fundamental of Islam. There are just thousands of laws and books dedicated to the idea of an Islamic state, not the so-called Islamic state that exists here, but an Islamic state with a caliph sitting at the head of it. And most people looking from the outside have the perception that the caliphate is expansionist, which is why a desert tribe from Arabia came to influence and gave birth to a religion that spread across the entire world, and you had huge caliphates. And you had different caliphates and different, but the concept of a caliphate not just sitting within its own borders, but expanding, is how those looking from the outside into Islam see it. That seems to be Islamic history. And so for question one, is that a correct understanding that the caliphate is expansionist? Second question would be, if that is the case, when Hamas declare in the charter that they want to establish a global caliphate, are they just being true to the religion? And I think these are the type of controversial, challenging questions that we both need to address. There are equally difficult questions which I, as an Orthodox Jew, could be closed from.
See, when the Prophet ﷺ passed away, after we looked to his last sermon, he gave us his last guidance from now until the end of the days. In his last sermon, he didn't ask us. He gave a lot of recommendations, a lot of wisdom. None of this contained the order to establish a caliphate. After he died, the disagreement amongst the Sahaba about his succession proved that there isn't in Islam a prescribed system of government. We have, because I don't know because we can look at it from a rational way. We can say that he was clever enough to not give us a system of government, because system of government are meant to change over time. Probably he had this vision, so he didn't. Now I'm talking about him as if he wasn't a prophet, because I'm talking to people who don't believe in him. But if you want my belief, I can tell you what is my belief. I think everything he did, he came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you are not interested in that. So I'm trying to give you some rational explanation. So after his death, he didn't leave us with the order to establish a caliphate. He did tell us about what's going to happen. It was a prophecy. He said there will be succession based on my methodology of prophethood. There will be successors, khulafa, who will rule based on my methodology. And those, we had them already. There are four. There are Sayyidina Umar, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali. He was the last rightly guided Khalif. After Hassan gave up the Caliph, the rule to Muawiyah, it became a kingdom. So this already changed at the time of Muawiyah. It's like now, I want to see any one of these people who claim that the caliphate is an obligation to answer the question: was Muawiyah a deviant Muslim? Muawiyah changed already this. He had already the caliphate and he changed it into kingdom. And this is what the Umayyad Umayyad dynasty. Can anyone claim that Muawiyah was a deviant Muslim? I don't think anyone can dare to say that Muawiyah was a deviant Muslim. Only Shia, the extremist Rafidi, they hate him. But Sunni, they will never, they will always find an explanation. So if he dared to change something that the Khulafa were doing, that means it is allowed for us to change our way of government. We can't only rely on rightly guided people, because rightly guided people, they will not live forever, because otherwise there will be no reason for us to have a Quran. We can have just rightly guided people and we just keep following them. This is exactly what Shia they try to do. They try to create this chain of succession of the imams, the 12 imams. It didn't work, because the 12th imam, he didn't have a male descendant, and it ended up that way. They had to come out with the story that he went to hide in somewhere. So what I'm saying is, like, there are no evidence that the Prophet and the Islam there is this prescribed way of government. There is a prophecy that told us about what will happen after his life, but he didn't say this is what we are supposed to do. So a Muslim who is now living in a republic or in an emirate or in a kingdom is not a Muslim sinner. He is not required to change the system of government to suit a vision of some scholar, or to suit a form of government that we had in the past. So I don't live in Islamic country. I live in Britain. I'm not interested in politics. I don't think any Muslim should be interested in politics, because politics is too corrupt for any human being. Once you start doing politics, you need to start accepting compromises. For example, the mayor of London, he's a Muslim, but he had to issue license for gambling and of licenses, and this goes against his doctrine, his guidance as a Muslim. So I'm just giving an example. So I don't think Muslims, they can be involved with politics. So, but does that mean that I'm not a Muslim? Enough. It's like I'm a sinner, or my family, then they will go to hell, to Jahannam, because we didn't actively seek the caliphate. I don't think so. There are no evidence of that. I understand that the term, when you put a group of people in Guantanamo, and you put next to them ex-generals of Saddam, and you torture them and you deprive them from all type, I mean, rightly or wrongly, from all types of dignity. Obviously, they will be traumatized and they will come up with some mad ideas. And once you release them, they will work to give life to those ideas. One of those ideas, because excuse me, I think they were so traumatized that they find out the only way for them towards salvation is to demolish the system of government in the world and to create the caliphate, because they were so desperate to find an exit way, and they had to work towards this project. And people who supported them from all over the world, they came from less traumatized backgrounds. But if you look, you find people coming from a deprived area, from Britain or from Belgium, people who are the third generation of Muslims, and their parents, they weren't really interested in Islam, and they didn't teach them anything, and they learned Islam online. And they can't speak Arabic properly. And when they speak Arabic, they learn the type of interpretation that takes them out of the rail. So these people, they gather together and they create this project. And alhamdulillah, now it's over. So Hamas is just another type of traumatized people, traumatized group of people. I'm not saying that as a dispersive, but they are really traumatized. The people born and grow up under statelessness. I don't want to say occupation, but they are stateless. They haven't got passport. They haven't got perspective for the future. And you can't get married in Gaza unless your father, your brother, your relative is a shaheed, is a martyr. Once you go and blow up yourself and you sort out your family for the rest of your life. Unfortunately, this is, we have people jumping in the boats to come to Europe, and they die in doing that. And there's no difference between those type of trauma and trauma of people who are living in Gaza and trying to kill themselves, to kill others, just to create a status for the family. So we cannot take seriously Hamas claims, because we cannot take them seriously. There's no devotion in this. There's a politics, and when you are doing politics, you look for support to your thesis. The Quran contradicts this view, because we know for a fact that not the majority of people will not believe. وَمَا أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ وَلَوْ حَرَصْتَ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. The majority of people, they will not become Muslim. The Quran says that. The Hadith says that at the end of the day, the Romans, that could be the Christians, that could mean the Christians, will be the biggest in number and in power. And so there are no evidence about the caliphate as a project. However, we can discuss different type of caliphates from historical perspective, and we can discuss it from political point of view. If it is a wise thing to do, it did work. What were the problems? But this is not a religious obligation upon every Muslim. This is not the sixth pillar of Islam.
So I think just one thing which kind of your worldview kind of hinges on is the idea that politics and religion are very separate. And if I'm understanding you correctly, you're basically expressing that if the Jewish state was run according to the halakha, it was a religious state, it would be more acceptable to the Jewish people. And a Muslim should be living, and this is where it becomes a little, it doesn't have to be a caliphate, it can be a kingdom, but ideally in an Islamic environment. But if you remove the Muslim from that Islamic environment and drop him into a Western liberal democracy, then in your mind it's ideal to steer away from politics. Similarly, you look at the situation in Hamas and you see it more as a political issue than a religious one. And so I've got two questions. One is
this one, before you give me the question, we need to always to look for evidence, because I might have this opinion, but it might be like just me, having these fantasies. I'm trying to think, but this is not. I'm trying to stick as a student of Islam. I try to stick to evidences. So everything I say, I try to link it to something. Now you just said, when you said that if Muslim move from Islamic environment and they lived in a Western country, and what's going to happen? I'm just straight away my mind went to the first migration when Muslims were persecuted amongst Arabs in Mecca. Prophet ﷺ, we have the first martyr was a woman. She was killed, and the Prophet ﷺ, he ordered them to move to Habasha, to Abyssinia, and they went to live in Abyssinia. It was a Christian country, it was a Christian kingdom, and he sent them there. I don't think the Prophet ﷺ will send the Muslims to a place where their faith will be in danger. So sometimes we have to prioritize safety and family life and mental health over the need of having a devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because as I say, I don't need people to be traumatized and persecuted and tortured just to be Muslim, like how's happening now in China. I wish they can just open the border and we take all these people. Honestly, I wish Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give the wisdom, the Chinese rulers, to allow these people to become stateless, because we don't want them to be Chinese. I mean, that will be the biggest gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let them be refugees, let them live in our streets, so just like share houses with us everywhere we are. So this is not Islam. Islam is not about politics. Islam is about tawheed.
So thank you for clarifying. One of the things that it does leave. I'll pose my question and ask and give a second follow up. It leaves the Muslim in the West in a precarious and a very dangerous situation, in the sense that if Muslims living in the West abstain from politics because they don't want to say it's permissible to drink alcohol or whatever rule they don't want to involve themselves in, you remove the ability for Muslims to, one, truly contribute to society, but you also remove their autonomy, because you are forever living under the rule of someone else. And to bring it back to what you were originally saying, one of my criticisms of Islam and one of my praises of Zionism is that within Islam, a Jew cannot lead the military. He cannot become at the very top. He cannot become the caliph. From my understanding, so there are limits. There's a glass ceiling for a Jew living in a caliphate. Similarly, Israel is not that way. Israel is a Zionist. It's not a Jewish. I mean, it is a Jewish state, but it's not a religiously Jewish state. And it was literally. I've got a quote. Let me find this quote. It's a good quote. It's worth waiting for. Let me just see. Yeah, this is Ben Gurion, the first Prime Minister of Israel in 1947. In the Jewish state, Jews will not have any right that is denied to Arabs, Greeks, or Armenians. So you can basically read that as Christian or Muslim Arabs, Christian Greeks, Christian Armenians, if they are residents and citizens of the state. Every citizen, Jewish, Arab, or any other, will be eligible to be elected to be president, prime minister, justice of the High Court, or any government office, etc., etc. And so I don't buy into a political entity, which a caliphate is, which a Jewish state is. I mean, because they determine the laws and everything else of the country, where certain people that are citizens that exist there, that are dependent on everything that the state has to offer, are denied the ability to ascend to the leadership. And so for me, I believe church or synagogue and state should be separate. I'm an Orthodox Jew. I try my best to follow the halakha. I try my best. I pray 3 times a day. I make blessings before and after reading. I try my best to be a simple religious Jew. But I believe that every Jew I know understands their religion slightly different to me. We don't have the institutions we used to have, like the Sanhedrin. And I would not like to see one group of religious Jews elevated above other Jews to determine the laws for the rest to follow, and even more so for the Muslims to follow, for the Christians to follow. So I believe a secular state where the synagogue or the church is separate is absolutely fundamental to to creating an egalitarian society where no opportunity is denied to someone based on their race or religion. And so that's one of my issues with Islam, or with an religiously Islamic state, is there are states where I'm denied citizenship because I'm Jewish. There are Islamic states where I can never become the leader. I will always be subordinate. I will always be essentially a second-class citizen. And that is built into the religion. And truthfully, it's built into the Jewish religion as well. If you go back 2,000 years ago, very different set of rules to what we have today. And I believe religion is organic and it evolves through the generations. But yeah, so if you could unpack that and say, and first, just to get your thoughts on the concept of Jews ascending to being not just Jews, I say pagans, not just people of the book, but someone that Islam would actually have a bigger issue with.
Atheist,
yeah, atheist, pagan, polytheist.
Firstly, I want to say that if Ben Gurion came back after, when did he say that? That quote?
1947, so just before the founding of the state.
Yeah, I think if we bring him back in 2020 and we debrief him on everything happened since then, I don't think he will keep the same view. I think it is wiser. I'm sorry to sound undemocratic, anti-democratic, but I think it is wiser for any one-state solution that accepts stateless Muslim back into the Jewish state as citizens of the Jewish state, whether in Gaza, whether in West Bank. I think any wise solution should take into consideration what I was saying about the trauma. I mean, you can't bring people that until the day before you make them citizens and you give them the right to vote and you give them a political vote. I'm not talking about local voting, like choosing people who run your water and electric. I'm talking about people who make the political decision, who decide. Well, I mean, your army budget and all this thing. You can't bring people who've been trying to kill you and to exterminate you until yesterday, and from tomorrow they will become equal to those citizens who were born under the rockets of Gaza, of Hamas, and who lost relatives in this war, and give them the same right to vote. That will be unfair to the Jewish people who believed in this state since the beginning. We were just born there. They didn't even choose to be Israelis, just like happened to be Israelis. So I don't think it is wise. So I think if Ben Gurion came back, he would not have the same opinion.
So he wasn't saying that. What he was saying, and it's literally what then transpired, was those Arabs, those Armenians, those Greeks, the Palestinians are a very diverse people. That's the other thing, is that people don't realize who the Palestinians are. It's not this indigenous people that have lived there since time immemorial. They're a collection of people. You're from Morocco. One of the most common names amongst Palestinians, or not one of the most, but a common surname is Al-Maghrebi. Yeah, it's like the Moroccan. Why is there a bloke who's saying he's Palestinian and the surname is the Moroccan? It's a little suspicious.
Yeah.
You're claiming they've lived there since time immemorial. And what Ben Gurion was saying was those that choose to live within the state, that don't take up arms, that don't leave, but that remain and stay, then they will have complete equality. And in his 1947 prophecy, he said they can become high justice, they can become the highest judge in the land. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened. We've seen Arab, albeit Christian Arab, two Christian Arab judges have sent Jewish prime ministers and Jewish presidents to jail. Like, so what he's saying actually transpired. What he isn't saying is that those that took up arms and fought us can then come back and just.
Okay. Back to my what I said about Muslims. That was an advice. It's not like I'm saying it's haram for Muslims to become to run for elections. It's not like. But that's my 45 years old opinion. You know, I used to have different opinion when I was younger, and now I believe it is wiser for Muslims to not take part in politics, and we can demonstrate it. We have Ilhan Omar in America. I don't think she's performing well as a Muslim. I mean, I don't think she's benefiting Islam at all. Or I don't know. Maybe she is. I'm just, from what I see or what I hear, it's not a success at all. So that was just one example, but there are other examples. I believe it is wiser to not take to not run to be elected, but you can always vote. You must vote. You must lobby for your rights. You should take jobs when you are asked to serve your country in the army. I love this part, secret services. I think this is something that we do well as a Muslim. and you should contribute to the progress of your country. But it doesn't mean without running for election, because the problem is like when you run to be elected, you ask people to give you their votes, and when you ask people to give you their votes, you can't impose your opinions on them. You have to compromise. You have to, and you can't be an hypocrite. Lie to people, tell them that you are a moderate Muslim, and you accept this and you accept that, and you have problem with certain issues. So until you need to make a decision. What matters for you the most? Is it Islam or your political career? I think if the answer is that what matters for Islam, you should just give up the political career and just you can do a lot of things. You can be a bureaucrat, you can be an advisor to the prime minister, and you can be head of MI6. You can do anything, but you don't have to be elected. That's what I meant.
And so then the second part, which for me, I don't share the same view as you. I, as a Jew living in Saudi Arabia, in the city of Medina, would like to become the ruler of Medina.
But can any Muslim living in Medina become a ruler?
No, exactly. A Jew can't even step foot in Medina. Never mind become the ruler.
No. So forget about that. Forget about the fact, because that can change.
That is going to change.
It needs a fatwa from the Council of Ulama that Jewish people can be allowed, and it can change them if they find a basis for that. Because for example, there are bases for not allowing anyone to go to Mecca. I mean, not a part of Muslims, not only Jew, like Hindu or Christians or. I mean, this is very tricky because the Saudi jurisprudence it's a big topic. For example, they were the only ones not allowing women to drive in the wars. Like, I mean, that was really the weirdest fatwa, but we have to accept it because we need to give every country, but that has to be equal for everyone. We need to give every country the right to elaborate their own way towards democracy, or to choose the way. Like you have Kuwait is different from all of the Gulf countries. You have Qatar, you have Emirates. They have another system over there. They are in fact the federal government. A lot of people, they know that Qatar, that Emirates is not one country. There's like 7 Emirates and united, and they have federal government. They have their own. So there's a lot of diversity within the Muslim Islamic countries. But I'm asking you a question: why would you think about becoming a ruler of Medina? I mean,
Why?
how that? Yeah.
Because my ancestors came from Khyber.
Yeah, but they're not there anymore. They left.
Kicked out, but so I want to go back.
That's fine if you can. So see, this is something that can trigger unnecessary sentiments.
Yeah,
it is.
You have no desire to become the ruler of Khyber, or
No. I need a visa to go to Saudi Arabia. I think they just like I can also be denied entry if the Saudi government doesn't like me, or I did something that is considered illegal in that country. It can be illegal somewhere else, and that's. I mean, we are on the same. Here again, see, we slipped from talking about religion to talking about politics. So what we are talking now, we are assisting the system of government of a country. We are not assisting the religion of Islam.
It's based on the religious belief. It's based on the religious belief that Caliph can only, a non-Muslim cannot lead the Ummah.
Yeah, that's an opinion.
So you're saying that's not necessarily grounded in Islam?
That's a strong opinion. I can't say it's not necessarily grounded, because now I don't want to sit here in my room in London and start, dismissing everything. It's like issuing, certificate of good conduct to the scholars. I'm not qualified, and I don't think any person is qualified to decide who is right or who is wrong. What happened in Islamic jurisprudence, if you don't like something, you need to come with your counter argument. I don't see the counter argument for now. I don't see the circumstances to even see. In Islam, we have like some sort of fatwa as you go system. I don't know if you got the points. Like we think when we have to. In Islamic jurisprudence, there's a difference between Islamic philosophy and Islamic jurisprudence. Islamic philosophy, I mean, I think I heard something. You have some podcast about philosophy. Islamic philosophy or something? Is it you or someone else?
Someone else. Philosophy.
Okay. So Islamic philosophy is totally different topic. People thinking and ahead and about, I can say, sorry to offend philosophers, about unnecessary topics, something that we don't need today. It's not urgent. Islamic jurisprudence is something that we need. I think even walking to a scholar, say, okay, I want your opinion about can a Jewish person become a ruler of Muslim country? Then I don't think any scholar will answer that question because they don't have to. Once you put it, you can go to Malaysia, for example. I think Malaysia or Indonesia, where they had a Chinese prime minister. I don't know if I just dreamt about it or just I think the prime minister from Chinese origin. Is it Indonesia or Malaysia? They have a Chinese community there.
Yeah, I think Malaysia has a big Chinese community. I'm just googling it.
Yeah, or someone who was running for elections or something. I mean, it's a fiqh jurisprudence when you need it, not when you are speculating about opinions. It's like, can we have, for example, women as judges? And we have women judges in Morocco. When they reach the point that there are too many girls study law and they're better than boys, and they're much qualified, like why they should just stop from becoming judges. So the scholars, I mean, no one can say that Moroccan scholars they're stupid or they are all corrupt or they don't know what they're talking about. They have their own methodology, and when they needed to issue a fatwa to allow women to become judges, they did. I think tomorrow, if they need, if we happen to have a king, that have only one daughter and they have to sit down and find a solution. I mean, just to cut the story short, you don't need to become a ruler of Medina. So why are you even asking about it?
Because it's a question that affected Jews for hundreds of years. Because for 1400 years, Jews lived under Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Jews were given the status of dhimmi, and they paid the jizya. That meant, depending whether the state followed the Pact of Umar or not, could mean that there were various oppressions that were applied to the Jew. And the Jew could never, despite being born, I, as a Jewish person born in Algeria, born 5 meters from my Muslim neighbor, that Muslim neighbor could, depending on the caliphate, ascend to become the top of the caliphate.
Yes.
I can't. And there were many things that were limited to me. And this is why it's important, because when we talk about the creation of religious states, all religions, don't have a great track record when it comes to treating those of another faith. You can go to any point in history, and it's not just religion, it's ethnicities and everything, tribes, but not a great track record for treating the other. And to be honest, within Islam in the early days, there was Arab supremacy. And if you were born Arab, you had a better, you had more privileges, to use.
You just say that. I was going to say it's not only about Jews. It's about women. It's about other ethnicities. It's about black. It's about Asian. It's not about I mean, here what you are unveiling once more. It's not about. We always focus on religion when we don't have to. Then we focus on politics when we don't have to. In this case, we are witnessing politics influencing religious opinions, because I mean, there is a need to deprive everyone who is not from such tribe to become a ruler. So the scholars, they will work on that direction. When you give them different direction, they will work on it. We've seen that now with Israel and Emirates. Before, Emirati people, they didn't have the need to even think about it. I mean, it's not, Israel is not in their border. There is no war, and there's no need to upset the rest of Arab nations. That's why do we even go and talk about it? So we need to do what everyone else is doing. So the scholars, they were thinking in that direction. So we hear scholar, he's an imam, Wasim Youssef. He used to be the imam of the mosque, the great mosque of Abu Dhabi, before and after. There are videos about him now on YouTube. Before the agreement and after the agreement. Before the agreement, he was an anti-Zionist. After the agreement, he became a peace lover. I'm not saying he's a nice person. See, I don't want to think bad and say he's a hypocrite or he changed him, but because scholars do follow the political view, and this happened towards our history. If you go look, there was always a sect or a school of thought preferred by the ruler, and issuing fatwas that suit the need of the time. So now, if you want to ask my opinion, I don't think a Jewish person should become a ruler in a Muslim country. I don't think a Muslim should become a ruler in a Jewish country. So for me, I think my opinion makes more sense. You're asking why I cannot be a ruler in Medina, because I'm telling you, I should not be the mayor of London. I accept that. I accept it for myself, and I expect for me to accept it for you as well, because this is the wisest. Because at the end of the day, we are not here to rule. We are here. I mean, this is what we believe. We are here to worship Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. So ruling, doing politics is just one of everyday things that we do to go by, to reach our target and to please Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. So anything that can compromise that aim, we need to cut it off. If I am Israeli citizen, I will be happy to not be allowed to become president. It's fine. I accept that. Why wouldn't you accept if you are a Saudi citizen to never become a ruler? As long as there's no discrimination here. There's no discrimination, because the same rule that applies to you in Saudi Arabia would apply to me in Israel. I'm happy with that. I think every Muslim should be happy with that.
I mean, that only works if every country around the world applies the same law. But what I would say is, you will almost certainly have some Nazis watching you at the moment, because I always get raided from 4chan, from the Daily Stormer on my YouTube channel, and it'll be music to their ears, because they'll be.
Is there any way I can make their life harder? Just is there any way I can send them upset to sleep tonight? Just let me know anything. What are their comments? What they're talking about?
So I haven't been able to follow the comments because I can't focus on you. But if you check,
I can't. Nazism is a kufr. So there's Nazi is apostasy. So anyone who accepts the Nazi views, or sympathizer of Nazism, or glorify Hitler, or is an apostate, in my opinion, unless he or she repents.
And so I call them worse than apostates, but they know that. That's why they go on my channel. Hi guys. So yeah, I think we're kind of drawing to the end now. So I think it would be really good if there's any questions that you had that you haven't posed to me, either around Zionism, or Judaism or anything else. Are there any areas that we haven't covered? Things I may have said to Muhammad Hijab that were either offensive or confusing, or have we covered most of the ground? That
I think engaging with the da'wah, they are not qualified to talk politics. I'm sorry to say that. I mean, they can talk politics if they talk in the context, but if they put that one side and they start talking about politics because they study politics or they live in this country or they know that can be listened to. But if someone is doing that and mixing that with politics, I don't think I will be standing and listening or even debating. So anyone who is talking about Israel, they need to realize they're talking about politics. They need to get over this lie that this is a holy war between Jews and Muslims. And Jews they are demonstrating. I don't know where these policies come from, because honestly, haven't done research and the evolving of the Jewish state policies toward Muslims and see how things changed. But all I can say, there is a difference between geopolitics and religion. I will keep stressing that. At the same time, I will keep stressing that there isn't a solution without religion, because religion is part of our life. It's a bit complicated and tricky. The problem was not created by the religion, but the religion can solve the problem, because religions are here to solve problems, not to create problems. And when problems are created in the name of the religion, they're not problems created by the religion itself, but they are problems created by man-made. We create them and we attribute them to the religion. We give them the label, religious label. You know, when there's nothing wrong about being white, you know. So the problem is not being white. The problem is like when you are white supremacist. So I can't accuse you. So because you are white, then you are like this. You hate me. No, you don't hate me because you are white. You hate me because you want to hate me. You being white is just an alibi, just an excuse.
Yeah, no, completely. It's a conversation for another day, but there's a huge stigma to being white today in the West. It is the most bizarre thing. There's a lot of shame, despite it Europeans building incredible civilizations that the rest of the world has emulated and modeled their societies on. There should be a sense of great pride rather than shame, but without being supremacist. Okay, so I found it a really, really interesting chat. I've wanted to talk to you for a long time. I'm a huge fan of your Twitter, and everyone, if you're not following him, make sure you follow at Jassem, Jassem, Tamim, Jassem Tamim. I'll put the link in the description. Make sure you're following him on Twitter. Have you got any closing message you'd like to give to the audience or to the Nazis or to anyone that's watching?
Yeah, I just like, I really would like to see, I don't believe in converting Jews to Islam. So what I'm going to see now is not, I'm not aiming to change your views about Islam and make you accept Islam. I'm just like trying to get everyone to focus. We have 15 million Jewish person in the world, I think. Is it 15 or 20? Almost. Yeah. So it is easier to educate the 15 or 20 million person about how to protect themselves against Islamic terrorism than educating the 1.8 billion Muslims on not being terrorists. So the good news that a Muslim always obey, I mean, meant to obey to the logic of the Quran and the Sunnah. If Jewish people, they learn more about this religion, I think there will be much bigger chances for us to live together if you learn more about us. I'm so sorry to give you this homework, but this is your destiny. You are meant to do, I mean, because you are smaller in number, you will be, inshallah, more efficient to change the route of history. So don't wait for us to become moderate or to reform Islam, because this is not going to happen. I'm sorry, not soon, not in this. I don't think it will ever happen. I don't want to even give false hope. There won't be a day when Muslims, they will reform Islam like Christians reformed Christianity. That day will not come. I'm sorry. So we need to, in my opinion, if I can give advice, to make this world a better place, learn a little bit about Islam. Just the basic. I'm not asking you to become a scholar in a way that you can hit back when you are challenged with these verses from the Quran telling you that whoever befriends Jews and Christians, he's one of them. Just be prepared. It's only 5 or 6 verses. Just be prepared to know the context and to hit back to that ignorant person and show and expose their ignorance. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will save you from the harm coming from this person. I mean, you guys, you learn how to fire back when someone fire at you, how to defend your countries. I've seen Israeli people walking with firearm in the streets, and you believe in this concept of wa'iddu, prepare, the concept we have in Islam. So you believe in this concept. So why you are not getting to know Islam? Don't waste your time and get to know Muslim, because Muslim is a diverse sphere and we keep changing. And don't waste your time with moderate Muslim. Don't waste your time with reformists, with ex-Muslim. Just go deep to the source, and it will be easy for you, because most of this methodology and this tradition, we got it from Jewish people and from debating with Jewish people. So once you understand how to hit back, like I do, I learned this thing I didn't know before, because I didn't have to. I didn't have to defend the Jewish narrative. I didn't have to defend Zionism. So I didn't know these things. But because I wanted to defend Jewish people, I wanted to defend Zionism, I learned how to debate. And most of the time, if you go to my Twitter, people, they don't carry on conversation. They block me, they start swearing or something like that. So once you get to this level of knowledge, inshallah, things will get better. So get to know Islam, please. Not to become Muslims, but to make this world a better place.
And I'll just add something to that. So one of the things I find myself doing is, where I see a verse that's problematic in Islam, and there's many that I have.
Yeah. Can you give me one so we can?
Okay. All right. Fine. We'll go there. Slavery. I think slavery, the institution of slavery, is abhorrent. I think the capturing of women and forcing them to be your concubine is regressive and abusive.
But that's not the verse in the Quran.
So, possess with your right hand. I'll pull up the surah, and it's in the Hadith as well. There's no. It's in the Torah as well. So it's.
Why? No, when I asked, the slavery is like a universal topic and can go from Hinduism as So I was talking about something related to the Jews. What is it in the Quran that makes you feel threatened by a Muslim?
Okay, fine. The Jews. How did Muhammad come to marry Sophia?
Okay, we have a sources about this. The source are our sources. So the sources that we have say that the 1,400 Muslims attacked Khaybar, the tribe of Khaybar. The same sources says that there was like 14,000 Jewish forces. Can I ask you a question? Why didn't the 14,000 defended Safiya? You want to tell me that 1,400 Muslims were enough to defeat 14,000?
So my understanding was this is the battle, yeah?
Yeah.
There was a battle, and
Yeah.
Sophia's
No,
father.
so now you just ask me how
Sorry.
Muhammad.
I may not know all the facts. I just want to.
No. But that's a good question, and I'm not challenging your knowledge. But some answers has to be composed answers, because we and you haven't been there, so we are basing our discussion based on texts. So
Yeah.
the only way to get to understanding that we need to use hypothetical questions.
Yeah.
So now you're asking me how Muhammad came to marry Safiya. Yeah. So I'm asking you. Yes, he married Safiya. She was 17, 16, whatever. Yeah. Firstly, Safiya, she was already a widow for the second. Not widow. She was made widow.
Yeah.
She was already married. So we don't have a problem of age of marriage here because she was already married to another Jewish person, then to another Jewish person. Okay, do you agree with that?
No issue with the age. This is not
okay. So I'm just trying to I'm just trying to prepare, the battlefield, because I know once you get into these topics, you start having hello coming from all sides. So it's not a problem of age, because some people they say, yeah, she was 17, yeah, but she was already married. So if it was okay for the Jew, why shouldn't it be okay for Muslim? Yeah, fine. So it's not a problem of age.
Okay.
Now you're asking, how did you get to marry her? Our sources that tells you, because you don't have sources.
No, it's all from Islamic sources.
Okay, so those sources say certain things. So I'm not trying to think with you based on those things. Those sources say that she wanted to marry him. She was happy to marry him. So why do you take the sources when it says she was a war captive, but you don't take the sources as reliable when we say that she was happy to marry him?
For a very simple question, and maybe this is my own naivety, and I'm following my own mother, but
no, you're just being negative. You're just being negative.
If my wife and my mother were cut down in front of me, and the person who instructed that they cut down then said that I marry her, I wouldn't be happy with that situation. I cannot wait to be the groom of this incredible woman who's just who's just killed my father and my husband. It just emotionally, I can't.
There is a way that there is a problem with what you just say. Firstly, an academic person should not base the research based on your own feelings. You can't assess Safiya's feelings based on your own feeling, your experience in 2019. I don't know when you get married. So these are two different. This is not even a criteria for us to assess her acceptance. We can only assess her acceptance based on the text, and those texts says that she accepted to marry him. And what I'm asking you, why do you take the word of the text when it suits your narrative? Why it is okay to tell me that Safiya was captive because our source say that she was captive, but when the source that Safiya was happy to marry him, he says no. So even the sources goes further. It's not only just one second. It's not only about the marriage, the happening of the marriage. It's about the afterlife. When you look to the afterlife of Safiya, because by the way, Safiya, I used her example in my thesis about was the Prophet Muhammad anti-Semite. I used her example. The life she conducted with the Prophet and after his death, she played a major role in Islamic civilization and doctrine. So she didn't give any signal to be traumatized or forced or concubine or someone just captured just because she is beautiful or she is pretty, whatever. So that's I am speculating here based on sources. I haven't been with them. I don't have no evidence. I'm really. We can only compare two different versions: the Jewish version and the Islamic version, and we don't have the Jewish version here. So we are trying to speculate over the Islamic version. So I'm asking you, why 14,000 Jews didn't fight? So people they don't fight for two reasons.
So can I just, because I'm not familiar with before.
The Khaybar, the Battle of Khaybar. If you go, you can look it up. This based on the sources. We have 1,400 Muslim fighters.
What's the sources? This in Ishaq?
Ibn Ishaq, Ibn Hisham, all of them. It's like there's slightly differences between the numbers, but we are talking about 1,400 Muslim attackers. Okay. Yes. Yeah. So we got 1,400 Muslim attackers, and we have 14,000 Jewish defenders.
And did they all fought?
So no.
They all fought?
They didn't fight. So basically, so let me tell you, 1,400 Muslim attackers set to Khaybar. Khaybar was defended by 10,000 Jews and 4,000 allies from an Arab tribe. You can look at, I think, Ghassasina, if I'm not wrong. So we are talking about 14,000 number. The number of the casualties was 90. So we have 1,400 sieging, 14,000, and 90 were killed. I know 90 is a big number, but with the standard of the warfare of the time, 90.
It's 900. I've got.
No, that's Banu Qurayza.
I know. I'm mixing my battles.
That's another topic. We can talk about that as well if you want, but let's finish this one.
Let's stay the time.
Yeah. So you got 1,400 sitting to fight 14,000, and 90 people died. Does it seem to you like an invasion?
Yeah, in the sense that.
Why the 14,000 didn't fight? I mean, even if they throw stone at them, it's like even if they throw, I don't know.
So
if they attack them with shoes from the fortress, they will at least kill half of them.
Okay, let me just. So how come her father and her husband were killed?
No, answer my question first.
Okay. No, but I'm saying they must have been fighting if her husband and her father were killed.
Yes, okay, 90 of them died, yeah. But why? I mean, to me, it doesn't sound like but based on our sources, maybe our sources are wrong. Maybe they overestimated the numbers. We don't know. But based on our sources, normally Arabs they exaggerate the numbers. They won't. I mean, even the 90 could be less, and they make it 90 because they like to show that they created, mayhem. They're these storytellers. Ibn Hisham and Ibn Ishaq, they are storytellers. They're not historians, by the way. So we're talking about what the idea that I'm not trying to quiz you over it. I'm just trying to build up an answer. The idea is like that wasn't a tragic battle compared to yes, you can talk about Banu Qurayza where numbers you are saying 900. I can debate that as well, but let's take your number.
Yeah.
So compared with Banu Qurayza, that's not as tragic because that 90 they had major force. So why Jewish people they don't? So let me answer the question. People they don't fight for two reasons. One, if they are core, if they are not man enough to I mean, if they don't have the courage to fight. Second, if they are wrong and they admit to be wrong. You agree?
Yeah, but my understanding was there was a fight, so I'm just trying to quickly go to the sources. So somebody obviously thought there was an issue because there was a battle. Yeah,
there was a battle. I'm trying to confirm to you. The battle was between 1,400 and the 14,000 surrendered. After 90, they were killed because those the one who went out of the fortress to fight. The first two tribes surrendered without fight, and they accepted the peace condition. The last fortress that resisted, there were about 90 killed. So this ended up in a peace treaty. It wasn't a tragedy. It was a conflict. The Khaybar leaders. I'm not saying the Khaybar Jews. I mean the Khaybar leaders, because there was no democracy. They didn't elect the leader. The leader was leader because he was son of Ibn Fulan. No. So the Khaybar leaders they committed a mistake by accepting the alliance of the pagan of Mecca. So that was the consequence of the alliance, and alhamdulillah, it ended up in peace treaty. So now Safiya, her father was killed. That's fine. I mean, astaghfirullah.
Yeah.
He was, yeah, he was killed, and her husband was killed. And our sources says that she had a dream. I don't know. Now we have to go deep in this. She had a dream, and the moon fallen on her lap, and she told her husband about this dream. And the husband, Jewish husband, the one who died, he punched her in the face. He beat her, said, "How dare you tell me about this?" When she asked him, "What does mean the dream mean?" He told her, "You will marry the king of the Arabs." This happened before the battle. So how do we know about it? When the Prophet ﷺ saw her for the first time, she had a scare in her face, and he asked her what the scare about, and she told him the story. So she wanted to marry him because I don't know, people they do marry for different reasons. You can't go into the head of someone who's 17 or 18, just lost the husband and the father, and ask him. Maybe it was safer for her, because the same sources tell us that the Prophet ﷺ gave her the option. He said, "If you want, I can you accept Islam and I marry you. If you want, you can go back to your people." She says, "I have no people. You are my own people." She said, "I have no people left." So basically, according to your religion, Safiya is an apostate. So you are not defending an apostate. You shouldn't be defending an apostate. If she chose to abandon her religion, why you are even questioning that she chose to marry the Prophet?
So I'm questioning it because, as I said, so I read out Al-Nasai, Sunan Al-Nasai, if I'm pronouncing that right. This is Sahih, this hadith. The Messenger of Allah invaded Kaaba, and we prayed Al-Ghada, Fajr, there early in the morning when it was still dark. Then the Prophet rode, and Abu Talha rode, and I was riding behind Abu Talha. The Prophet of Allah passed through the lane of Khaybar quickly, and my knee was touching the thigh of the Messenger of Allah, and I could see the whiteness of the thigh of the Prophet. When he entered the town, he said, "Allahu Akbar, Khaybar is destroyed."
Yes.
Whenever
he didn't say destroyed. He says Futihat Khaybar.
what's that?
Futihat Khaybar. Khaybar was conquered. Was opened. Not destroyed.
Whenever we approach a hostile nation, that's in brackets. Whenever we approach a nation to fight, evil will be the mourning for those who have been mourned.
Yes, yeah.
He said this 3 times. The people came out for their work. One of them, Abdul Aziz said, Muhammad, Abdul Aziz said, some of our companions said, "Why his army? We conquered Khaybar and gathered the captives." Dia came and said, "O Prophet of Allah, give me a slave girl from among the captives." He said, "Go and take a slave girl." So at this point, we're not talking choice. This is take for yourself with what your right arm possesses.
Yeah.
He took Safiya bint Huyay, which is probably maybe Chaim or
No, Huyay.
to work out the Hebrew. Then because Huyay is not a Hebrew name. Then a man came to the Prophet and said, "O Messenger of Allah, you give Dia Safiya bint Huyay, and she is the chief mistress of Qurayza. And An-Nadir, and she, so Banu Nadir, and she is fit for no one but you." So here's someone.
Because she's from an honorable family.
Yeah. He said, "Call him to bring her." When the Prophet saw her, he said, "Take any other slave girl from among the captives." Again, no choice here for the women. He said, "Prophet of Allah, set her free," and married her. One of the Thabit said to him, "Oh, Abu Hamza, what dowry did he give her?" He said, "Herself." He set her free and married her. He said, while on the road, Sulaim fitted her out or presented her to him in the night, and the following morning he was a bridegroom. He said, "Whoever has anything, let him bring it." He spread out a leather cloth, and men came with cottage cheese, dates, and ghee, and they made hais, and that was walima, the Messenger of Allah. So basically, just to step back, as I understand that, one of the soldiers went to take whichever woman he wanted.
Yes.
He chose one. He liked the look.
The captive, yeah, the captive.
Someone went to Muhammad and said, no, Sophia, she's an A-class celebrity.
Yeah.
You want her for yourself.
Yeah, she's like honorable family.
That I'm remembering, where the Sahaba were waiting outside the room to see if she'd come out with the hijab or not. Because if she came out with the hijab, it meant she'd married him. If she came without the hijab, it meant that she was a slave girl.
It means she had a choice, or
yes, which comes back to your choice. It means exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Or either she has the choice or Muhammad has the choice. Ultimately, Muhammad has the choice, and she has no agency here.
Yeah.
If she says, "I don't want to marry you, Muhammad," it's not up to her.
So these are Sahaba who witnessed these things. These are people who went there to fight, and they took slaves, and they chose the best one, and they turned to be someone from high rank. It's like not say it's like honorable. It's like someone with the lineage. We call we believe she have lineage to Dawood. We don't. I mean, this is our belief. So the story was told by the Sahaba, and it is in one of our sources. Which source you were reading there?
So that was Nasai. I'd probably put.
Yeah. So that was one of our sources. We have other sources. Probably you will find them the same one about Safiya herself. As I'm talking about what happened. So would you take her version as good, or you just take the one of the Sahaba?
So here's my difficulty. I do not
because here.
One
second. The guy was not in the tent. He didn't hear the conversation between Muhammad and Safiya. But we in the source we know about what Safiya says herself afterwards. It was narrated. Narrated in details.
So again, all I'm saying, and we don't even need to. Even if you were to,
what you are doing here is very, very important, and it goes beyond this incident. Because what you are doing, this is exactly what I was asking the audience a little bit ago. I said, go and engage with these things. So what you are doing, you're not upsetting me. There's nothing. That's why when you have to say, let's make this discussion in private. There's nothing controversial in what you are saying. We do it all the time. Our Muslims, we do it all the time. So what I'm trying to explain to you, when someone come to you and tell you, I'm a Muslim and I have to kill you because you will hide behind the tree and so on and so forth and blah blah blah. When someone comes to you, you need to be able to do exactly what I'm doing. So I'm questioning the narration. It's not like I'm quizzing you. I'm trying to prove it that you don't know. I don't even expect you to know because this is not your religion. Jazakallah khair that you know these things. I have to thank you. You are too kind to get involved with all these topics. So there is a narration. There are counter narrations. What we do, we put the narrations together and we try to balance that on the behavior. We look to the behavior of the Prophet. We look to the behavior, the standards of the time. Have he done something which was wrong at the time? Because when you were describing the incident, I was going to ask you, let's invert the position. Let's put the army was Jewish army and they took over a Muslim state. So what would they do?
This is actually where I was going to take the conversation from so I've read it, and there's no escaping the fact, Jassem, the Quran authorizes and permits slavery.
Because it was permitted by everyone.
Let me finish.
Yeah.
It has an issue with Muslims eating bacon. It doesn't have an issue with Muslims keeping slaves. You can say it's noble to release the slave, and there's like freeing a slave as one of the great. But the fact is, you can keep a slave. Just let me finish, because I'll give you where I'm coming from and why I raised this particular point. However, most people that have involved themselves in apologetics, that have got into debates along theological grounds, will be familiar with the fact that Muslim armies conquered and captured slaves. There was a huge Islamic slave trade which existed it still exists in Mauritania and places like that. Judaism, you'll find the same thing. This is what most people don't realize. If you go to the Old Testament, you'll find similar situations where there are mechanisms for marrying a woman that's captured at war. And for me, I have as much of an issue with the Jewish source as I do with the Islamic source. And you have to contextualize it, which is exactly what you said. You look at what was going on in that period. Where it becomes problematic for me is when somebody will turn around and say that the example of Muhammad is the perfect example, and therefore I'm going to go off to Syria and I'm going to capture a Yazidi girl. And that's where it becomes right when someone tries to live up. But all religions that are more than
in that circumstance, when someone picked the example of Safiya, as I will say, La'natullah alayh, because Safiya is incomparable. Safiya for us, radiallahu anha, is, I mean, I've been saying her name more than 6-7 times, and I wasn't trying to interrupt you and say radiallahu anha, so I've been committing sin. I'm not even allowed to mention her name without saying radiallahu anha, so may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive me. She's the mother of the believers, you know. She's the mother of the believers. She's in high status. It's not me who says that. It's just like her behavior. She wasn't a normal, like there are no normal. Like she had a big contribution. She even was kind of competing with Aisha radiallahu anha. You know, just like she's the second after Aisha in amount of contribution to Islam and to her love for the Prophet ﷺ, and how much she suffered because Safiya. This was on my thesis about Muhammad anti-Semitism. I was trying to prove that he wasn't an anti-Semite, but he was born in anti-Semitic society. So everyone was already anti-Semitic, and he was trying to change that, just like he was trying to change slavery, just he was trying to change racism, he was trying to change usury. So he was dealing with anti-Semitism as a social problem because he was born in an anti-Semitic society. Everyone was anti-Semitic, including Aisha radiallahu anha, another mother of the believers. I'm gonna criticize her. So she's a high standard, but I can't criticize her because she's not infallible, and that's what that's what a lot of people they don't understand, that we don't have problems in criticizing behavior and scrutinizing the behavior of our people, you know, our sources of knowledge. So Aisha, what she says, when Safiya radiallahu anha came into Medina, Aisha, she heard the story. And she came out with the other wives to look, who is this new wife that he's bringing? You know, like, look at this man, he's marrying another one again. So they were like normal people. They had normal feelings like jealousy. And Aisha radiallahu anha, she was covered, and the Prophet he looked at her and he didn't recognize her because I can't recognize my wife. She's covered because you live with the person you can recognize. So he recognized her. Then when he went home, he asked her, "How did you find her?" I mean, about Safiya. She said, "I saw a Jew." She said, "Ra'aytu Yahudiya." Obviously, in this passive way, she says, like, whatever. She's just a Jew, you know. And he says that don't say. He told her off. He said, "Don't call her a Jew," you know. She don't say that to her because she's descendant of Dawood alayhi salam and you know of the prophets. And Safiya, she was complaining all the time about it because other wives they were exerting anti-Semitism on her all the time. You know, she was always targeted because she was Jew. She was never believed in her conversion, by the way. There was always doubts about her conversion. Even after the life of the Prophet, Umar radiallahu anhu, he called her and he quizzed her about, he had like intelligence from her servant. She was saying that Safiya radiallahu anha, she was keeping the Shabbat and she was visiting her Jewish family. So she snitched on her, the servant, to the Khalif, you know. He wanted to put her in trouble. And the Khalif, Ali Umar, he called her and he asked her. She said, her answer, Safiya radiallahu anha, she said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swapped for me Sabbath with the Jum'ah, and I am happy with my Jum'ah. And when it comes to my Jewish family, those are my blood, and you cannot deprive me from being kind to them because this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. And she proved this in fact. It's not, I'm just telling you, this is not only words. This is not someone just fabricating hadith to try to make her look nice. These are fact, like mutawatir. These are repeated narrations that confirms a certain behavior. Now we are talking about the personality of someone. We're trying to study someone based on the text. So after during her life, she left inheritance for her nephew who was Jew. He wasn't a Muslim. Ibn Ukhtiha, the son of her sister, he was Jew. When she died, Muslims, they tried to deprive him from inheritance because he is Jew. A Jew cannot inherit from a Muslim. They came out with this fatwa. They said she is a Muslim, her nephew is Jew, he's not allowed. Aisha radiallahu anha, the one who stood the other day and she says, "Oh, I saw a Jew," She says, no, taqullah, and give him his money, his life. So she stood and she defended the right of a Jewish person in inheritance, creating a precedent in Islamic jurisprudence that a Jewish person, a non-Muslim, is allowed to inherit from a Muslim person. So this is a scholarly view. Obviously, there are other schools that try to change it, but this is evidence. The behavior of Aisha and Safiya created an evidence that a non-Muslim can inherit from a Muslim. So why I'm trying to give you this, there was anti-Semitism. Maybe Muslim scholars who are not trained to recognize what anti-Semitism is, and they were brought up and told that anti-Semitism is one of the Zionist lies. They just try to play victims because it is convenient to them. When they look to anti-Semitism in this way, also they discard it. They don't take it into consideration when they are reflecting upon the text. But because I don't have this problem, so I was trained in anti-Semitism. So why reflecting upon the text? Why trying to write my thesis about the investigating whether the Prophet ﷺ was an anti-Semite? So I picked up these signals about the behavior of Safiya and the behavior of Aisha radiallahu anhuma, and I tried to balance what was going on. And I can sense that there was obviously Jewish Arabs. They used to hate black. They used to hate Jewish. They used to hate each other. Even Jewish people who were living with Arabs, we talk about Banu Qurayza, Banu Qaynuqa, Banu Nadir, they used to fight each other in alliance with the Aus Khazraj. There was an Arab tribe, Khazraj, allied with the Jewish people. When they have blood money, they go and they kill each other. I mean, Jewish people, a Jewish person kill a Jewish person for the sake of an Arab person. So one of the questions I was going to ask you, and I think this is the moment. So why do you assume that every Jewish person is sinless? Or why are you when you reflect about the history, our joint history, you never give us the benefit of the doubt that there wasn't some unwise Jewish leader who took some wrong decision and got his people killed? I mean, why? I mean, being a Jew doesn't make you perfect. People do mistakes. People do commit mistakes, and people who were engaging with the Prophet ﷺ, the leaders, not the people, because that time we had leaders and followers. We didn't have democracy and everyone. That people, they have to live as a part of community. And when the leader gets killed, everyone else gets enslaved. That was the rules. They didn't have prisons. They had to take these people to their homes and feed them and make them work. I know, I'm not saying it is right with the standard of 2020, with someone living in Britain is awful. But with the standard of the time, that was the norm. So when you are studying the Islamic history, try to give us the benefit of the doubt. We are questioning our Prophet. Why are you not questioning our people?
So I do question my own people. But so I'll give you a great example. The QAnon movement. These guys that believe that Messiah, or a lot of them now are going around saying that Israel is a pedophile country. Why are they saying that? Because of Jeffrey Epstein. So you've got one Jew who's abhorrent, and then they attribute it to all people. And so I think you can go through Jewish history, and you can say sometimes Jews were massacred, persecuted and they were sinless. They were persecuted because they were Jewish. Other times there may have been treaties that weren't honored, which is one of the examples we were discussing. Otherwise, I've got no refutation, because the only instances of these Jewish battles with the Muslims come from Islamic sources. So you're only hearing the story from the victor, rather.
But you are picking on the parts that makes Muslim look bad.
But it's not that it makes Muslims look bad, because you can do the exact same thing to Jewish scripture. So what I'm saying is I'm consistent. I will look at the Torah. There is slavery in the Torah. There is war captives in the Torah. So the very thing I'm criticizing Islam for, I will criticize my own religion for, and I have my own ways of how do you contextualize it to, as you were saying, the time. In the time where every nation was going to war and capturing slaves, that was the Geneva Convention of the time. Then it wouldn't have been that unusual and that hard for them to digest. But then when you come to anti-Semitism, I'll just give you an example. I don't know if this is whether it's authentic, like what level of authentication it is, but this is from Bukhari. Narrated Aisha and Abdullah bin Abbas. When the last moment of the life of Allah's apostle came, he started putting his khamisa on his face, and when he felt hot and short of breath, he took it off his face and said, "May Allah, I'm not curse thee, I'm not even going to say my people, and the Christians, for they built places of worship at the graves of their prophets." The Prophet was warning Muslims not to build a prophet, but it's an example of it's dying. So to answer your question, the reason I focus on these negative points of Islam, which are anti-Semitic, because if I'm going out to defend Islam, which I do, if I go out to defend Muslims, I have to understand what are the issues that people have with Islam. Well, like you said, why do I always view the Jews as sinless? On the flip side, why do you always view Islam as sinless? Well, and I know you know. I'm saying, so when I look at these verses, I have a problem with that. Someone who on their dying bed, on their deathbed, curses my people for praying by graves. And by the way, I don't think Jews should pray by graves, and they do that today. I follow a school of Islam. I follow a school of Judaism, which says you shouldn't pray in graveyards. There are Jews today that will pray to God via somebody. So which I'm like, everybody can do what they want, but I don't do that. I only pray to God. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to Hashem.
I don't have any problem. I don't have any doubt that you are praying to God. That's why I'm putting so much energy. Look, I'm not paid by the Mossad. I am not paid by MI6. I don't work for any government. Alhamdulillah, I'm a hardworking person. I live. I don't do this for living. You know, I really. So what I'm trying to do, because I have so much love for you and for your people, and I don't want this to carry on. I'm not sure if I will succeed in achieving anything, but this is not the way I was brought up. My religion is not about getting results. My religion is about taking action. So I will take action and I will pass the message on. So what you are doing now is excellent, because we just find out that you are scrutinizing Islam the same way you scrutinize Judaism. So I'm trying to explain to you that the way we scrutinize Islam, we do it in different ways. Like, try to apply the same way to the Judaism as well. It's like trying to learn a little bit of, because we are a little bit advanced. You know, we came after you, so we take basically all your knowledge and we added a little bit of it to it, and it is a positive thing. What's happening here? It's like when you see, this is exactly the was supposed to be my final word. When you see text, oppose the text with this kind of attitude. Try to scrutinize, try to compare, and I will give you an example if time allow me. The hadith of that says that the end of the days, the Jews will hide, and the Muslim, ya Abdullah, you know, behind me there's a Jew, come and kill him. All these things. So this is this is the narration, one version. If we look to the books of the hadith, the same Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, you will find other 3 versions containing longer description. So the description, the one hadith tell us what will happen, the prophecy, but doesn't go into much details. There's another hadith that goes into much details and describe those Jews who will be fighting with the Dajjal, the Antichrist, and the fight will take place in Jerusalem. So we already know from second hadith, we know that these Jews fighting, the Jews that will be hiding behind those trees, by the way, they are not Jews, they are Jews apostated, because if you fight with the Masih Dajjal, you're not a Jew anymore. I mean, I don't think he's someone follow with wrong Antichrist is a Jew. I understand for you it's complicated because you consider Jewishness also race. So a Jewish person will remain Jewish person even if they are atheist. But from my point of view, I don't see it that way. For me, once you become atheist, you are not Jew anymore. This is one of the arguments I'm using with some of the toughest British boys who hate Jewish people, and it works. Because I ask them, like, does this surah or hadith apply to someone who's atheist? And they start, they never thought about it. An atheist Jew is not a Jew based on the Islamic point of view. So we are not talking. You can't put a blanket judgment on every Jewish person living on this 15 million, because not all of them they are practicing. By the way, most of them they're not practicing. Some of them they're atheists. Some of them they're communists. So you can't apply this We already saved like half of the Jewish people from being persecuted just by applying a simple Islamic jurisprudence principle that a Jewish person who is not Jewish is an apostate, he's something else. That's why I always have this argument with ex-Muslim. They say, I am ex-Muslim. I ask them, and what are you now? Like, I mean, you need to disassociate from what you've been before. So the second hadith described that these people, they will be fighting with the Masih ad-Dajjal. There is a third hadith that give even more description that these people, they will be 70,000 and they will be from Asfahan, from Iran, originated from Iran. So even with the standards, I mean, these are all speculation and it's prophecy, and the prophecy may not happen, and it is not binding for me to believe the prophecy, to make the prophecy happen. What is binding for me is to believe that if that was the prophet, the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if that was the word of the prophet, that is true. You see, this is very tricky. I'm not supposed to believe that it will happen, but I'm not supposed to believe that he lied if he did say this. And we don't have any rational evidence to prove the hadith was 100% authentic. And this was, even the three versions of the hadith show you that there's diversion. When people, they narrate things, they add their own words and they take off. And so supposedly, even if we assume all the hadiths were sahih and he said this exactly as he said it, the third hadith described that these people, they will be from Iran. So we already excluded everyone who is not included in the 70,000 Jewish person. We already know that these people are not Jew based on the Islamic jurisprudence. We already know that they're apostate. So even if the prophecy took place, it will not be about Jewish people. So rationally, because this is what happened, Hamas and like it is, I think it's Article 7 in Hamas Covenant. Hamas and these people, they use the rational thinking to recruit and to radicalize people and get them to kill themselves and others based on prophecies. So even if we assume the prophecy will happen, the rationality of it proves that this prophecy is not exactly what they use it for. So this is not a call to call every Jew. That's why I really am concerned about.
And so I think that the key thing for me here is the reason you will go to such lengths and such effort to find a positive angle of reading is because you're a Muslim.
Yeah.
Someone who isn't Muslim doesn't have that same. So let me try and finish my point with the verse about the Jews being turned into apes and pigs because they didn't keep Shabbat. Like, I can logically, I've got no dog in the race. I'm not Muslim. Islam can be bad. It can be good. I'm indifferent because it doesn't affect my daily life. And so I can read that verse and think that any Muslim today who thinks that Jews descend from pigs and apes is an idiot, because pigs and apes don't create Jews. And I can read that and I can actually say, as a Jewish person, actually, you can find mirrors to that within the Jewish scripture, because Jews are told to keep Shabbat. And when Jews don't keep Shabbat, it's not a good thing in the Torah, in the Old Testament either. And
I would love you to do.
With that particular verse, because I've got no dog in the race, it's very easy for me to see the positive. Where, like, the positive way of looking at it, it's talking about a very specific set of Jews. Whether it means it literally or metaphorically, it doesn't even matter to me. If Muslims believe that Jews were physically turned into apes, amazing. If it's a metaphor, also amazing. But it's inconsequential, because when you come to some of the other ones which seem more problematic, like more in terms of actually that does seem more
like what you keep talking about problematic verses. Honestly,
I think don't even have to go anti-Semitic. We can just say
we are not talking about slavery now. We are talking about anti-Semitism.
Anti-Semitism.
This is another topic.
I'll give you a few more then. Abu Hurairah reported Allah's messenger as saying, "Do not greet the Jews and the Christians before they greet you, and when you meet any one of them on the road, force him to go to the narrowest part of it." Sahih Muslim. Okay. I mean, and you can contextualize that to say,
okay. So this hadith say don't greet them. Another hadith says that he borrowed flour from his neighbor.
Pardon?
Another hadith says that he borrowed flour. He borrowed, flour to bake bread.
Yeah.
Is it flour? Is it flour? Yeah. He borrowed flour from his neighbor. How can he borrow flour from someone he doesn't greet?
Indeed, but another hadith says,
let me give you a even worse one. I'll give kill every Jew that fall under your power. Have you heard this hadith before? Kill every Jew that fall under your power.
No, I missed that one.
Yeah, I will send you the link. It was you just Google it. Kill every Jew that fall under power. This is the preferred hadith of Ibn Warraq and company. You know, they love this hadith, but they just like I'll say something about it. Kill every Jew that fall into your power. This one, you know, this is we have problem here again. I'm not trying to be apologetic of Islam. I know I don't have to, you know, because I'm Muslim. Even if someone expected me to be apologetic for Islam, he doesn't know the person you're talking about. So I'm just like, when you look to this hadith, kill every Jew, translate it into English and put into this context, kill every Jew that falls into your power. I'm not even going to question the narration here. I'm not even going to look to the other context like I did with the previous hadith. What I'm going to do, I'm going to look forward. I'm not going to look to scrutinize the behavior of the Muslims and the Prophet ﷺ after the hadith. So if that hadith meant the way it was translated, that shows that every Muslim who lived after that order, because this is what they said it was an order from the Prophet ﷺ to kill every Jew. This is what they claim. So history proved that Muslims didn't adhere to that order. They didn't kill every Jew that fall under their power. So if you are right in saying that this was a blanket order to kill every Jew, that means every Muslim was a sinner until today. Because every time we have a Jew under our power, we didn't kill them. So we are not obeying to the Prophet ﷺ. Based on that translation and based on that interpretation, based on the claim that was a blanket order to every Muslim to kill every Jew that fall into their power. The Prophet ﷺ, he didn't do it. We've just been talking about Khaybar. They killed 90 and they set free 10,000. So themselves, they didn't adhere to that order. So see, sometimes even without getting into, just by applying normal resonance, like school kids reasoning, you will find out that the person who is writing essays and books, and mashallah, you see these people going into conferences, they leave me speechless. Sometimes they make me question, how can people sit and listen to this level of academic speech? You know, you're just making up stories. You just pull in one line from one hadith from our own books. You're translating into your own language and you're understanding it in your own way. And when we are trying to give you to contribute and give our say, you're not even listening. You see, we are using taqiyya. So what do you want me to do? You want me to just vanish, to disappear? I understand. You want to wake up one day and there's no Muslim on earth? I understand, but that's not going to happen. So in the meantime, you will have to live with us. So just come down from your castle and try to talk to us like normal people. Probably you have something to say.
I think that's a great one to round up the conversation, because I believe that these verses are taken out of context. But I also agree with what you say. The reason I know save the verses I was quoting is because they are out there. And I think my personal belief is Islam, Judaism, Christianity, Hindu, all religions can be interpreted to a good place and to a bad place. You can get a Jew who can take the religion, pervert it, and go out and do abhorrent things, and they have scriptural basis for what they do. You can have a Muslim that does the exact same thing. You can have someone screams Allahu Akbar, believes he's following out the will of Allah, and the horrific thing, and he bases it on religion. Every Muslim I know that does incredibly kind deeds bases it on their religion. And so religion is one of these things that can be used as a force for good and the bad. I think what you said is absolutely correct, though. Jews need to familiarize themselves with the Quran, with the Hadith, with the problematic parts, and Muslims need to do the same with the Torah, so that we're equipped for these conversations, so that we can build meaningful relationships and friendships. Inshallah.
So knowledge is the key. Knowledge is the key. And as a Muslim, because we failed so far to communicate our message. You know, we failed over the last 1,400 years. Sometimes we've been successful. Now we are complete failure. You know, the reputation of Islam is on the ground. I mean, I'm really impressed by some people that keep accepting Islam. And my current opinion, if someone asks me, should I accept Islam, I won't advise them to accept it. This is the opposite what I was thinking like 10 years ago. I'm not happy with new conversions, because I want what we have already to be fixed. We have myself and other Muslims. We need to understand what we are talking about. So we need a Jewish state. We need people like you. I mean, if Muslim remove the hatred and remove the colors of the Israeli flag that they hate so much and they keep burning, and they look at you as a person, they will see a successful person, someone who is paving the way, who is living his experience towards God, towards the religion. I want Muslims to have the same pride of being Muslims and to walk. You can walk in London heads up, even despite the dangers you are facing and the anti-Semitism and hatred. You can walk. I can't. That's the truth. I have to justify the slavery. I have to justify ISIS. I have to protect. I can't switch off my phone because I have 6 women in my family who are wearing the niqab. So I am expecting at every given moment of the day a call to come and help because someone assaulted them, someone spat on them or something like that. Unfortunately, by the way, we moved from Italy to here just because to be safe, because we wanted to be safe. This is one of the reasons.
If it's any consolation, Jassem, everyone thinks I'm a Muslim, so assalamu alaikum whenever they see me. My wife wears a headscarf, so they'll think she's a Muslim as well.
Yeah.
We get the
so we need people like you. We need successful stories like this Israel. I mean, we need to study. When Muslim, I teach this to my kids and my nephews. When people they understand how great the success of creating a Jewish state over the last 70 years. We need, because we have a lot of failures, so we need the success. That's why I support the Jewish state. I don't support Jewish state because they have nice beaches in Tel Aviv. I don't support Jewish state because Jewish women they are pretty. I don't support Jewish state because you have advanced technology. I support Jewish state because I'm on a state of Tawheed. That's my opinion. Muslims they will call me mad, but inshallah time only will prove.
I think time will be on your side. We're already seeing the tide has changed. The Muslim, and it's what's led the path to peace is economic cooperation, and the ulama, the scholars, the
now it all will kick up.
What you were saying before. So inshallah, in our lifetime, we will know peace between the children of Ibrahim alayhi salam.
Careful with that finger, just like people will take screenshots. Thank you very much for hosting me, and thank you for everyone who's listening. I'm sorry for being long. I really tried to I wasn't trying to convert you. I was trying to bash Islam and make it look like I'm nice. I was really trying to deal with facts.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. Everyone head over to Twitter. He handles Jassem Tamim. Make sure you're following him. If you'd like to support the Israel Advocacy Movement, you can buy the merchandise. You can donate via our Patreon, or you can just share this video and any of the other videos we make. Everything you do is really appreciated. Thank you, Jassem.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much. Jazakallah.
Look after yourself. Thank you so much.